Can you guys hear me all right? Let me know if you can hear me when you get a chance and you're in the room. I think I got everything hooked up all right. Welcome, you guys. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday night. I'm excited to share this live stream with you guys. Let's see. We'll give people a chance to pop in here. Welcome to the party. So everybody and their sister is weighing in on the Epstein files, and everyone seems to have found the top 5 emails. And everyone has a different idea of what those top 5 may be. But I want to start with you guys, with some of the more ridiculous and outlandish and obvious misinformation plants that, remember, guys, they've had these files in their possession for almost 6 years now. 6 years. So imagine what they've been able to do besides to redact the shit out of everything. They've been able to create files. Who has had a major influence on all of this. Let me make sure that my chat is working here. Let me see something. The first indication of who the biggest influence was on these files is the whole shenanigans with Mamdani, with the photoshopped photos of him with Epstein. That tells you, who doesn't like Israel? I know there's a lot of controversy around this guy because of his socialist views, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, and we're going to talk about and circle back to it, the misinformation that has been deliberately planted into these files, I'm sure by 2 administrations at this point. So like the photoshopped photos of Mamdani are a great example. He's obviously not a big fan of Israel. He's spoken out that he would arrest Netanyahu. Yeah, I know he's a socialist, and everybody, the conservatives have a real problem with him, as if he's going to change anything. New York City's not going to change. It's been bankrupt forever. It'll continue to be bankrupt. But what I want to know is, how many of y'all have even thought about the absurdities of the Bill Gates revelations? Now, I'm not talking about the 2015 back and forth and the money and the whole 2020 health debacle nonsense. Hey, Walter, great to see you, brother. I'm excited about this one. I put together a lot of very interesting, I think, information that most people are not thinking critically about at all. For example, I'm gonna have to swear. There's no way I can speak these sentences without being profane, because the notion that fucking Bill Gates, a man who has resurrected pharmaceutical companies from literally 25 feet under the ground and turned them into billion-dollar machines, a guy who has doctors worldwide in his fucking pocket. You guys read the email and thought that he caught an STD from a Russian, apparently more than one Russian prostitute, and that he gave it to his wife Melinda, and he needed Jeffrey Epstein, if he could, not to bother you, Jeff, but if you could please send me some type of antibiotic that I could dissolve into Melinda's drink, that would be a big help. Are you guys fucking kidding me? Have you thought about the absurdity of Bill Gates writing that email, let alone having trouble procuring an antibiotic, which anyone can get anywhere? Why would he write Jeffrey Epstein and request a dissolvable antibiotic? And what STD did he get? Did he travel back to like 1812 in the Wild Wild West? Are you fucking kidding me? Where has our critical thought vanished to? Bill Gates could procure any prescription drug he wants on the market with a phone call, let alone some Adderall for a bridge tournament and some fucking antibiotics for apparently a really slow spreading case, because he must have found out Melinda caught it and then is like, damn, I got to do something. If only I had some dissolvable antibiotics. Maybe Jeffrey can mail me some from halfway around the fucking world. I'm like, what? In what planet, on what world is Bill Gates going to have trouble procuring a prescription? Like, seriously, this is the headline? This is the lowest hanging fruit imaginable. And like, even my peers, people I admire, meticulous researchers, just keep repeating this idiocy, without like no thought whatsoever. I'm like, wait, what? What? Like, seriously? When you're that wealthy, you don't even need to be plugged into every health organization on the planet, let alone have them all in your pocket in order to get a doctor on the line and get whatever you want, okay? Like, that's just stupid. I don't know who else has thought of that, but that's a big old ridiculous. They'll throw Bill Gates, he's a scapegoat. The public has already, decided on what Bill truly is, rightfully so. So, he's retired. His gopher days are over now. There's not going to be any more pandemics while he's around anyway. They're going to have to wait a long time for us to try to, hope we forget, which God willing we never do. So I wanted to start with that because when you realize that that's on top of the list for a reason, then you have to realize that there's been a ton of misinformation planted amongst all of this redacted, and this is some dark ass shit. And then what else was on top of the list, right? We saw accusations. I mean, we know Bill Clinton has been heavily involved with his buddy Jeff. They have a lot of similar tendencies, and they're both criminals, like very professional and very successful international criminals. They both made fortunes, so they get along great. It's a big old party. And what's interesting is on top of that same list was who else? George Bush, right? I have here the tip that came in that said, I'd like to add a few points to the purported victim. While on this yacht, he witnessed African American males having, with white blonde females, all of whom were apparently bleeding. And then it said he was a victim of ritualistic sacrifice. And on the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines being removed, and then there was eating of those things. And he said he was also raped by George Bush the first, okay? Now, all of those things are outrageous at face value. The boomers are going to read that and they're going to be like, this is so silly. Like, none of this can be true. Because if you don't know better, if you've never actually read up and researched George Herbert Walker Bush, then you might think that these outrageous claims are just completely unfathomable. But lo and behold, George Herbert Walker Bush has a long and sordid history of these kinds of criminal acts and the accusations that come along with them. For example, somebody who has already dug into George Herbert Walker Bush and his criminal history at length. You guys want a detailed 5-part series on Bush, check out my 5-part special on the Bush-Clinton, couldn't be more relevant, crime family legacy. You will learn all about how those two families have been doing illegal business together for close to 30 years now, right? So just to go back, 2017, George Bush Sr. had to issue a second apology to, quote, anyone he offended after a second allegation of sexual assault emerged. 2 different actresses accused him of groping them. His spokesperson said that, listen to this shit. His spokesperson said that, his arm wanders naturally and it hits people below the waist since he's been in his wheelchair. Right, and that's why tons of wheelchair-bound men are accused every year of groping women's rear ends, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense. While making jokes that their favorite magician is David Copperfield. And Bush actually said this. Allegedly, he actually said that while he pinched a girl on the butt. I mean, old habits die hard. This dude's in a wheelchair and he's still doing it. So over half a dozen women have come forward. And then, of course, you have Kathy O'Brien. Now, many of you well-educated subscribers, followers of mine, know who Kathy O'Brien is. She is a long-time MK Ultra survivor and whistleblower, and she has been speaking out about George Herbert Walker Bush and Dick Cheney and what they did to her and her daughter, who she was raised in these programs, in these underground programs, and her personality was disassociated. And she's not the only one. Paul Bonacci, who won $1 million civil judgment in the Franklin abuse ring case, proved his allegations about abuse at where? Bohemian Grove. Go figure. Who's at Bohemian Grove every year he was alive? George Herbert Walker Bush. That's right. That's crazy. And Randy Turner, they both have harrowing stories of torture and sex abuse when Herbert Walker was CIA director and then later in the White House, because that's what they do. You think they stop when they get in the White House? No. They throw pizza parties, hot dog parties, right? It went so far as to, Hillary had to warn Obama, if you've read the WikiLeaks emails, which they've never bothered to explain, of course, because there is no explanation. She said, are you sure you want to do this in the White House? You know, when I introduced this to you, I never thought that you would, but he did. What a party, what a soiree it must have been for Obama and his preference towards hot dogs. Yeah, right. And so there's that, right? So why was that left in? That is the question. Why? Because it's outrageous, because Bush Sr. is dead, and because they know that most people won't believe it. It's too hellacious. It's just too far-fetched for most people with decent hearts and proper, education in minds. It's just very hard for them to fathom this dude who is the devil incarnate, doing this, right? So they leave that in, of course. And that steals a headline. Great. George Bush is dead. He can't be held accountable. And W is, God knows if he knows where he is, but who cares? They're out of the loop. That's easy, low-hanging fruit. I guarantee you there's a lot more allegations when it comes to Bush and Cheney and everyone else, but they're gonna selectively choose which. So the next question becomes, we're gonna get into Wayfair, we're gonna get into all this juicy stuff. Welcome you guys who have just joined. I was just talking about, I started with the absurdity of the Bill Gates request for antibiotics and Adderall. And if you guys haven't thought about the fucking sheer absurdity of that request, let's use a little logical thinking here. That is ridiculous and obvious misinformation planted by those people who don't want you to focus on everything else that is so much more destructive and dark and still happening. And the fact that no one's been held accountable. Nobody. Not even a little bit. So I want to say this before I go on. Everything that's happening seems like, oh my God, like us conspiracy theorists, those of us theorists, we're not theorists, we're researchers, we're pattern recognitionist, okay? We've already come to terms with this. This is not news to us, okay? We have had to face this reality years and years and years ago. We've reconciled it. Now, the public has been given a taste of what has been true for fucking decades. And the public is struggling with how to proceed. And we're going to talk about how I think best to proceed towards the end. But let me just say this. Through every darkness, there is always a rebound of light. These things have to come to pass so that we can do better. If the world is in denial about the people who run America and this entire global society of people, then how can we change it? How can we take action to bring actual freedom to people around the world and stop the insanity and the injustice and the suffering of the most innocent among us? How can we do that? Unless we're truly sure that it's happening. Now, people are going to be overwhelmed. The reason why they released 3 million documents is because they just assume, like the old days, it's just going to be too much. And then there's enough redacted and enough misinformation where they can get away with it. And they are. They're not going to hold anyone accountable. Kash Patel stood in front of Congress and said he had no actionable evidence whatsoever to persecute anyone in the Epstein files. We're looking at three We're looking at hundreds and thousands of emails that are coordinating the trafficking of children. All of them have a name to and from, and the names from are redacted. Each and every one of those people is an actionable offender. What do we have the FBI for? Now listen, I'm going to remind you guys. What's going on, Mr. Popo? We're talking about the absurdities of some of the inclusions that have come out of the most recent Epstein files and why they were added. And I'm going to talk about Wayfair, and I'm going to talk about a little more about Bush and you know what's going on with everything. But it's not really a debate. It's just me sharing what I've gained, my insights into this fucking shit show of a trough of just ridiculousness, okay? So what I was saying, thank you, Krista. What I was saying, most importantly, is remember, all of this is a catalyst for change. For every dark night, there is a bright day. We have to get through the dark nights if we want to get to the bright days. We are in a transitional period. So everything that is happening, the fact that America is finally being faced with the reality that our country is completely governed and run by a foreign entity that has absolutely no regard whatsoever for the goyim, for the cattle. And as you can see, if you have read any of the files, Jewish supremacy is rampant. It is what allows them, the indoctrination of that sick belief system. That's what gives them permission to treat people, babies, children, as objects, as things, as cattle. Constantly, the word goyim and cattle are thrown around. Jeffrey Epstein goes so far as to call Madonna cattle. There's constant, what do you call it? Starts with the letter D, degradation? No. There's derogatory terms thrown left and right, every other email about the goyim. Who says that? The Jewish supremacist belief, the Zionist belief, is that they are better than us, that we are goyim. And that is what enables them to dehumanize us, to kill us, to do whatever they want to us. It is not offensive to their God. And that is the belief system, the BS that they have adopted. I'm not talking about all Jews. I lived in New York City for 20 years. I know plenty of Jews who are just horrified at this. I wish more of them would speak up, you know, but the problem is even when they do speak up, they don't get any kind of media attention. But my point with all of this is that there's a bright side to this, and it's coming. There's a retribution, and it's coming, and it's not coming in the form of vengeance and you know, saviors coming from the sky. It's coming in the form of people waking up and taking their power back and realizing that there is no future in any two-party system. There is no future in it. We have to take what authority the government has back and redo the entire thing, okay? And it's not going to be a small undertaking, but we can certainly begin to put laws in place that will prevent this kind of infiltration and overtaking by these bankers, because it's the bankers. What did Jeffrey Epstein say in one of his emails? I represent the Rothschilds, as you may know. Gee, there's a fucking surprise. Really? He represents the same Rothschilds who signed the Balfour Declaration and bought Palestine from Britain, even though it wasn't Britain's to sell? Those Rothschilds? The same Rothschilds that have spread a debt enslavement usury system around the fucking world? The whole world is in debt, mostly because of this family and about 12 others. And they don't give a fuck. They're happy to let this thing roll until the wheels fall off. And this release, this shit show of documents they released, is just more evidence of that. They thrive on chaos. And the best thing that we can do is withdraw our attention. And you should, right after this podcast. Now, I want to go over some things with you guys, but that's the good news. The good news is that only good will come of this with the people, with the people's understanding of the power structure and how far gone it is. That's the good news. So, it's not a complete eclipse of the sun. There will be a backlash to this, right? So that's the good news. I want you guys to have faith and not get into despair and overwhelmed about, like, what do we do? What we do is we, piece by piece, we take back our power, and that starts with the individual. We withdraw every bit of central authority that they have put in place. We start local and we start electing people. APAC Tracker, if you don't follow APAC Tracker, follow APAC Tracker. Do not vote for anyone in any way that has taken a single dollar from APAC. Not one. And it's working. APAC Tracker is helping people defeat Israel, and the APAC is raising $20 million to fund these Congress, and they're losing. They're losing because they've lost public opinion. And let me remind you of something. For those of you who think I'm just I have some kind of beef. Every fucking thing that has happened to these children over the past 30 years and longer has happened at the behest of Israel. Not Russia, not Putin, Israel. And every news outlet that you see parroting the same nonsense, the same bullshit, that Jeffrey Epstein was a Russian spy working for the Kremlin or working for Putin, you should block that news outlet, for it is a shill and a cuck of Israel. You should never trust another word it says again, whether it's MSN, ABC, New York Post, New York Times, any news outlet that says that Jeffrey Epstein was anything but a trained Mossad agent, which came out in the documents. You should block them. Block them on Facebook, block them on wherever. Withdraw your attention from them. They will atrophy and go away. Trust me, nobody clicks, they ain't getting no more money. Even their oligarch saviors won't waste their fucking money, because in the end, that's what it's all about for them, power and money. So let's talk about Wayfair. You guys remember Wayfair? I seem to recall a conspiracy theory that came out, and BBC, ABC, all the major MSN headlines were quick to come to Wayfair's rescue. Unfounded conspiracy theories, because somebody found a back door into that furniture. It's like a furniture store. They sell like bedding and pillows and lamps. And what they found was disturbing. And then of course that part of the website was shut down, but not before the dude could collect some evidence. And then, just the echo, the parrot was out, Operation Mockingbird went right out. Everybody's saying the same thing, unfounded. Wayfair is the center of an unfounded conspiracy, all this shit. Lo and behold, among Jeffrey Epstein's many, many, many receipts is a receipt from Wayfair. Now, this is fascinating because I don't know if you guys know Wayfair, but it's like there's IKEA, which has some cool stuff, and then there's Wayfair, which is even cheaper. As far as I can tell, and what I think is really fascinating is that Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, I believe Karnia Shulak, that was his most recent girlfriend, she ordered through her PayPal an $8,453 redacted item. Now, this was in, what's the date on this shit show? I think this was like 2017. I don't know, but don't you guys think it's a little strange? It's a little strange that her name isn't redacted, but the item, the $8,453 item, is redacted. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I just happened to go on the site and I wanted to do a little shopping on Wayfair. And so I started looking at all their stuff. And I couldn't find one item, not one item priced over $2,000. I couldn't find one item priced over $1,000, to be perfectly frank. But I'm sure maybe I'm missing something. I must be missing something. I did many searches. There's nothing that Wayfair sells that is that expensive. So what is going on? And why would they redact the item? Why wouldn't they redact who bought it? They clearly have no problem. How you doing, Flex? Good to see you. Why redact the item? Huh? Wayfair owes us an explanation. I think that is safe to say. And yeah, it was James Lee who brought that to my attention. It's certainly worth noting. But I just found it fascinating. When I went shopping on Wayfair earlier today, I couldn't find any item over $1,000. Not one. Maybe their prices have changed. But why the fuck would Jeffrey Epstein and his girlfriend be shopping at Wayfair? Why not just go to IKEA or Walmart? I mean, like, seriously? Something doesn't add up, okay? And I'm sure it's exactly what the conspiracy theorists have been talking about for years, that everyone dismissed. Fuck Wayfair. Anyway, let's move on. Anyway, so some of you guys, let's see, downward spiral, a warning of sorts. Maybe Flex, certainly something. Danny Schulman said hi. Hi, how are you guys? Great to see you. So listen, just to recap for some of you just joining us, we talked about the absurdity of Bill Gates asking anyone for a pharmaceutical drug. I think it's safe to say Bill Gates has access to doctors and any pharmaceutical he wants. Remember him? He was a big part of that whole 2020 health thing that happened. We learned that in the emails he sent in 2015. I don't think it would be very difficult for Bill to procure some Adderall for his bridge game. I don't know if he would need Jeff to show up with it. I think that's a little fucking insane and stupid and obviously misdirection. I'm just going to repeat that for those of you who just joined me, because it seems to me like no one else is thinking very critically about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein apparently, allegedly, was in correspondence with Bill Gates, and Bill Gates said he caught a nasty STD from one of the many Russian hookers he was with. Apparently that Jeffrey Epstein flew in on a time machine from the year 1812 because Bill needed emergency antibiotics and he needed them dissolvable so he could slip them into Melinda's drink. Because Bill Gates would have, you know, why would you make a phone call and get antibiotics when you could ask someone who's on the other side of the world to try to get you some? I mean, it makes perfect sense. Bill Gates certainly wouldn't have the means or the contacts to get himself antibiotics. I mean, like, this is a headline? This is what people are believing? Hello, wake up. It's bullshit. It's low-hanging fruit. It's something for the mainstream to run a headline about. And Bill Gates has said, I'm sorry I spent time with him, but none of that stuff's true. And he's probably right. None of that shit is true. But it's just absurd, you know, that people are not talking about the ridiculousness of Bill Gates writing Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, do you think Bill Gates is unaware his emails are going to be read? This is somebody who developed Microsoft and, you know, backdoored the government in right away, one of the first. He knows full well the government has access to everything. He's not going to put shit out there over Gmail about his genitalia and STDs. Are we? Yeah, Melinda wasn't diagnosed. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's bullshit. I mean, I'm not saying that Bill Gates didn't go and have fun with Jeffrey and tried to get him to throw up money. I'm just saying those emails are absurd. And the fact that more people aren't calling them out for what they are is mind-boggling to me. But, you know, some other things I thought very much worth mentioning. Okay, so we have Somaliland. You guys ever hear of Somaliland? It's soon to be part of Greater Israel. Excuse me. Excuse me. Still getting over a cough from all the chemtrails the government's been putting in the air. So you'll have to, excuse me. Bastards. Seriously. They're putting shit in the air. Like, what else could cause everyone to develop a cough at the same time? Anyway, owners of Congress know nothing about the business itself. Just know how to bully well. owners of companies, I think you tried to write. Well, yeah, and they're complicit, but a lot of it is uncomfortable. So speaking of Somaliland, right? There was an email that went back and forth. Now, did you notice who recognized Somaliland? The only country, if you want to call them that, the only nation, faux nation, to recognize, sorry, cold hands, no worries, Flicks. Somaliland as a nation was who? Oh yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu. And the whole world shook their head because they're going to take over Somaliland and they're going to make it their own. They're going to make it another little fucking hideaway for pedos. The first emails were, we could make a fortune off water and waste, and we could build a Hollywood studio right there in Africa. And we wouldn't offend anyone. We could make it all kids programmings. It'll be like Sesame Street. Jeffrey will love this idea. That's what the email said. I'm paraphrasing. But they were like, don't worry, we'll keep it all for children. I wonder what they were thinking too. That's right, Greenland too, Stone. So we know now where the security state, well, the security state's obviously been a long time plan, but Peter Thiel was contacted by Jeffrey Epstein through whatever the fuck the other prime minister, the real evil one who was always with Jeffrey. They hooked up, and then they saw their opportunity with Trump, but they knew that he was doing a lot with surveillance, and he also had a disdain for the human race, and he was also fucked in the head and indoctrinated into depravity. He was a perfect candidate. And they saw their opportunity to hijack Trump's second term, and they took it. And it's working. Hello? We have ICE agents murdering U.S. citizens on the street. If that's not a police state, I don't know what it is. What are you all waiting for? And those people on the right who are all for the Second Amendment are suddenly like, yeah, he shouldn't have never brought a gun. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you think you're excuse me. What do you think your Second Amendment is for? Excuse me. Darn. I'm blocking my mic. Forgive me. Let me take a drink of water. I was fine all day. It's the chemtrails. Who else developed the cough in the last 2 weeks? Oh, how about the whole fucking world? Have any of you guys developed a cough or congestion in the last 2 weeks out of the blue? People are like, it's my allergies. I'm like, it's not fucking allergy season. What are you talking about? It was fucking January. Are we waiting for permission to rebel? We are waiting for, apparently, Flex. Apparently, we need more evidence that the government is completely far gone. But Somaliland, interesting. Interesting place, right? What else was buried in there that they don't want you to notice, okay? How about the fact that there was a decoy body protocol, which reminded me so much of my research into JFK and what they did with him, only this being a little different. That's right. So, Susan, I never get sick. It's been years since I've got sick. And then a month ago, I got a cough, and it went away. And now a month later, when my antibodies should be very strong and very resistant, I came down with it again for no reason whatsoever. When? Oh, right when that big winter storm that they sprayed the ever-loving shit out of the skies for a week on end, right as it was coming into pass. Now, just a coincidence, I'm sure. It's probably not all the aluminum and heavy metals they're putting in the air that's causing people to cough and have reactions the way they. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. No, they were getting everyone ready for what they knew was coming, and that was this shit show. But it always backfires on them because there's a lot more of us, and we're a lot smarter than them. That's for sure. Yeah, even freezing south. I mean, I'm in Georgia, and it was frigid here. So. Did you guys see the decoy body protocol emails? Did you know, a big solar flare last couple days coming in too. Creates detox. Ah, that could be it. 2 flicks. Thank you. You're always detoxing. Your body only knows how to heal. Remember that, my friends. You're never getting sick. You're always getting better. And your mind and your body listens to the words that you're saying. So keep that in mind as they continue to fudge with us. I don't know why I just pulled back on the F-bomb there after dropping so many. I don't know. Anyway, the decoy body protocol. Now, this is important because for the longest time, I believed that they knocked Jeffrey off. No, let me repeat that. For the longest time, I believed that they escaped him, that they got him out. I didn't believe the bullshit with the photos. I saw no reason to believe that they didn't just spring this guy. You know, he was on suicide watch. All of a sudden, he's dead. And I never believed it. I believed they got him out for a long time. And then at some point in time, I shifted to, you know what? It was probably easier for them to just knock him off because it seemed to me like they were able to secure all the files and therefore they had no need to keep him alive. Now, I know that that's not true because there are still 200,000 files apparently of the most hellacious and even more depraved shit that they have not released yet. And I'm willing to bet, and I'm a betting man, and I have a great success rate. I'm willing to bet that we don't have control of those files. I'm willing to bet Israel does. Because I'm pretty sure that this whole debacle is a response to Trump refusing to start World War III by bombing the ever-loving shit out of Iran. Because he knows if he does, Russia and China will come to their aid, and that is World War III, period. We don't own Israel. We own Israel, but they control us, Stone. They are toxic. They're like a cancer on this society. But I believe wholeheartedly that those 200,000 documents are going to be used as leverage. Now the question is, how and will Trump be able to continue to navigate? It's funny, he said the other day that Iran better come to the table and stop with the nuclear weapons, even though like 2 months ago when he bombed the nuclear facility at the behest of Israel, he said, that's it. They won't be able to make any, it'll be years before they recover. But just a month later, they've made a miraculous recovery, haven't they? That's wild. They were able to rebuild everything and now they're almost nuclear capable again. It's going on 30 years now that they're just weeks away. 30 years. When are you guys gonna wake up? I know none of you listening really believe the fucking idiocy coming out of the mainstream media and Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump and all this propaganda. You can't. I mean, you have 30 years of highlights of Netanyahu saying Iran is weeks away from a nuclear weapon. First of all, if Iran wanted a nuclear weapon, Russia would be happy to provide it. They have about 7,000 of them, most of which they have track of, okay? China would be happy to provide it. Do you think for a moment Iran can't get a nuke if they want it? They probably already have one. There's only one country that has nuclear weapons that has not signed the proliferation. One country illegally operating with nukes, and that is Israel. And that is why every dollar we send to them is illegal by law. And the United States government won't cop to that. They just keep sending your hard-earned money. You know, Israel is the one who has illegal weapons. You know, we went into Iraq to look for weapons of mass destruction. We knew they never had any. You know, again, Israel controlling the United States sent us in there. And we should have been going into Israel because they do have nukes, you know, illegally. How did they get them? Oh, that's right. They murdered Americans and stole plans for them. And that's a fact. If you do your research, you know that. Israel has never been an ally to the United States. They have been a parasite, using and abusing, blackmailing and bribing every step of the way until they have infiltrated every aspect of our government. And make no mistake about it, every fucking depraved thing that you read about in those files was at the behest of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu first and foremost. There's a reason why that pile of shit is not mentioned once. You don't mention the ringleader. You don't mention the boss man. He was the one running the fucking show. He's been doing this since Lewinsky, you know, and he's not scared to fucking use the leverage he has. So the question is, what's going to come first? The reputation of some of these politicians, which is already garbage. We all know who their masters are, with the exception of two, Thomas Massey and Ron Paul, and Dr. Rand Paul, of course. There's maybe four in all of Congress who are not owned by AIPAC. Now, we're starting to overturn that, but we need to organize and start passing laws which restrict and do away with AIPAC and really all PACs. We need to get money out of Congress. That may sound crazy to you guys, but they're supposed to be public servants. They're not supposed to be bribery machines. They're not supposed to go in making $150,000 a year and come out with $250 million. Netanyahu should be in jail 1,000%, 1,000,000,000%. He's a fucking criminal. He's a murderer, and he's a slime ball. And if you think for a second that he gives two fucks about Americans in any way, then you are confused. I don't think any of you listening do. Let's get back to this decoy body protocol. Now listen, did you guys know that the guards were in fact charged by the DOJ for falsifying records about the body? I'm going to read to you what the charge says. Jeffrey S. Berman, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Guido Modano, Special Agent in charge of the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General, New York Field Office, and William F. Sweeney Jr., Assistant Director in charge of the New York Field Office of the FBI, announced today the unsealing of an indictment charging federal correctional officers Tova Noel and Michael Thomas with making false records and conspiring to make false records and to defraud the United States by impairing the lawful functions of the Metropolitan Correctional Center. Why did they do that? Because they faked the body. They created a fake body in a gurney and they put it in a different vehicle. They said it was to distract the press. And then you have another report. Oh, by the way, remember the suicide note? This is an MSN headline right here. What does it say? It said, oh, maybe you can't read it. It says Jeffrey Epstein's secret suicide note reveals he tried to hire a cellmate to kill him before his fatal suicide attempt. That was MSN who read that headline. All the headlines parroted that. But guess what? Just like everything else, they don't tell you. They did a handwriting analysis of that note, and it came back negative. Was not Jeffrey Epstein's handwriting at all. In fact, I even think I read the fucking thing was postmarked after he died. Did the mainstream media correct the news? No. Who owns them? They tell you what they want you to believe. It has nothing to do with the truth. It's all a big old cover-up, and they're propaganda machines. I'm telling you, if you read one headline from any newspaper that says anything about Jeffrey Epstein being anything but an Mossad-trained agent, which has come out clearly in the emails now, putting to bed the question of who he was affiliated with. The headlines they're running, Operation Mockingbird, all parroting the same thing. Epstein was a Russian spy. Turns out he was working for Putin. Yeah, bullshit. If you read the emails, you see quite clearly Jeffrey tried very hard to get in the room with Putin. There's rumors going around that he had a $200 billion fund created with Putin, a man who's never been able to actually have a face-to-face with. Interesting. He also talks about having, introducing people to some possible replacements for Putin. And the way that he eyes Ukraine is also very, very telling, because it is a predatory stance that he takes with his emails about Ukraine, about how to pillage it. And Zelensky is a hardcore Zionist, owned and operated. He's a Jew, you know? I mean, he's very proud. There's a reason why he was chosen as a puppet to be the president of Ukraine. And that's because he takes orders not only from Washington, but from Netanyahu, who runs fucking Washington. Anyway, you didn't hear that the suicide note that they told us all was left by Epstein. You didn't hear the news that it was a fake, a complete forgery. And I'm starting to go back to my initial belief that Jeff is probably alive somewhere. with very, very reconstructive surgery, and he looks completely different. And there's probably no way anyone would recognize him. But somebody with that kind of leverage on that many people, he can find a way out of jail easily. You think they can't find a body to bring out? They were doing it in '63 with Kennedy. They had a body double. Do you think they've gotten worse or better at it over time? This is the CIA we're talking about, and the FBI. He has a beard now. Oh yeah, I saw that. I don't know if that's him or not. It's gonna be impossible to tell. He would have to really do something stupid. I wonder, his fingerprints must be the same, but they probably don't let him out without gloves. Anyway, so there's that, right? What else do I got for you guys? There's a bunch of stuff here. So we talked about Somaliland, we talked about Bill Gates. Now look, you see a lot of pictures of these actors, and there was a lot of stuff that was put about Donald Trump, but that was added in 2026. So I cannot put much stock into the accusations made about Trump in 2026, how that was, or 2025, how that was added then it's just suspicious to me, And the fact that there's a lot of rumors, which I wouldn't put this past them for a second, that Donald Trump refused to do a fatal coup d'etat on Iran, even though the CIA and Mossad successfully stirred up the whole country to set that up. When Donald Trump refused, that's when the Epstein files were released in response to that. And apparently Netanyahu is saving an ace, at least he claims to be saving an ace in the hole for one last try. And apparently he'll release. At this point, I'm like, when are we going to free ourselves from this? Okay, we all know that everyone in office, for the most part, with the exception of 3, 4, 5 people, have been trapped in a honey trap situation and put in compromising positions and did hellacious things. Some of them far worse than others. Some of them need to go to jail and be prosecuted. Others need to come clean, take the heat, and fucking formulate a plan to free ourselves from this fucking bane of existence country called is not real, because they are the problem. And if you don't understand that every fucking thing that you read about what happened to a child in these files was at the behest of Netanyahu and Israel, then you are missing the big picture. Who is on the flag of Israel? Star of David, right? No, that's not the Star of David. The Rothschilds made that up. It's the Star of Moloch. Who's Moloch BFFs with? Baal. Who's Baal? Baal is the deity of child sacrifice. Oh, that's interesting. So on their flag is Moloch. They worship Baal. The Talmud says it's totally cool to kill Goyim children and do whatever else you want with them. And in the last 3 years, by some estimates, they've murdered 600,000 Goyim, 75% of whom were women and 50% of whom were children under 12. Meanwhile, they're harvesting and selling the organs. They're making a fortune off death and destruction. Now, if you have not correlated the fact that most Jewish people are clueless as to what where their flag comes from, what it actually means, who their energetic ties are to, Moloch and Baal. I mean, fucking Jeffrey Epstein apparently, allegedly even had a bank account called Baal. He certainly had pictures of him everywhere. They seemed real cool with old Bali. And like people are like, oh, they're gonna go to hell. And listen, I don't subscribe to any of that bullshit. It is your belief system that grants you power. The reason why these people get away with the shit they get away with is because they have vast resources and because they are in alignment with themselves. They believe themselves to be better than everyone else. It makes them happy to do these things. They believe there's power in these rituals, and that makes it powerful. When you are aligned in heart and mind, whether it be for good or evil, you are a powerful creator. So don't buy into the bullshit of, they're a satanic cult. Yeah, they are, but that's their belief system. That's what gives them their power and permission to do the depraved, unconscionable things that they do. It has nothing to do with the devil. It has to do with their programming, their indoctrination, their beliefs. If you were indoctrinated into the belief that you are a powerful creator from the time you were young, and you aligned in heart and mind, you would be every bit as able to manifest anything you wanted as these people are. They get the education that they need from their family, their kin. And that education is eugenics. It is race superiority. It is Jewish supremacy. Do you understand? They talk about that forever. Bill Gates talks about that, 10 years old. My parents sat me down, told me the importance of eugenics. Rampham star, thank you, Walter. The Rampham star, right? But it comes from Moloch and Baal, and those two are partners in crime. Am I right with that? Am I getting that history right? Let me see. What did I miss here? You're right on, man. You're so right, man. Bang on. Thank you, brother. Netanyahu should be in jail. Yeah, definitely. He has a beard now. I saw that. I don't know if it's really him. Donald Trump is the best president we ever had. I'm not so sure about that, Jeff. Listen, if it's true that Netanyahu is using this to blackmail Trump and pressure him to start the next global war, which we know has been a long-standing plan, Israel wants America and the Christians to destroy the Muslims so they could come out of their little bunkers, pick up the pieces. They already have the infiltration and the debt enslavement system in place. They could run the whole fucking show. They won't have to do it through any other country. That's what they want. It's been a long-standing plan. 3 world wars, right? 3 of them. That's a fact. It's been written about all over the place. We got 100 years of people saying the same thing. 3 world wars were planned. And they're still working on the 3rd. If Trump is truly allowing his reputation to suffer and allowing these things to come out so that he doesn't start a global war, then I will say that maybe he is one of the best presidents. I don't know if that's the truth or not. I know what would make him the best president. If he had the fucking balls and the fearlessness and the heart to come out to the American public and tell the fucking truth. Say that the truth is our government has been completely infiltrated and we are at the mercy, or were at the mercy, of a foreign entity, foreign country. And that we are taking steps now to free ourselves from this. If he did that, he would be legend. Both the right and the left would rally behind him. Every country that has developed a fantastically healthy loathing of Israel and what they're doing would rally behind him. People want this shit to stop. There's like 200 families on this planet who are rooting for this to continue. And everyone else, all 8 billion of us, are talking about how to get peace. Let me see something. Let me take care of this dude. Okay. See ya, dude. So anyway, God, you know what I mean? Like that would be legend. That would be something. And if this government in its current form has any chance of surviving, any chance at all, then it's going to have to start to parcel out and develop very, very subtle and methodical plans, very clandestine, to rid itself of the Israeli occupation on this country. Because if it is not clear to you who is running the show in this country, after the emails and everything that you've learned, then I don't know what will make it clear. I don't know if it's possible for you to have a bigger wake-up call. The country needed to see this shit. We've been telling you it's been going on for years. We get censored for it. We get fucking called conspiracy theorists. We've come to terms with it. We know who runs the country. David Icke has been telling you for 25 fucking years that the whole fucking world is run by a cult. A bunch of pedo, blood-drinking, Satan-worshipping maniacs. And guess what? What do these emails prove? That he was right. That he was fucking dead on balls accurate 20 years before everyone else, as usual, in typical David Icke fashion. If you want to learn the way this thing is laid out, read David Icke's books. Read all of his books. He'll tell you how it started, who's behind it, what families are still maintaining it, why they think that they're better than everyone else, where Jewish supremacy comes from, how the Jewish people are being used, how the Jewish people at the very core of this are being victimized. Not in the way that they play the victim card. I'm not talking about the Israelis who are just indoctrinated into a complete dehumanization and like fucking frothing at the mouth of everything Arab and non-Jewish. I'm talking about secular Jews living in the United States, living in Canada, who don't know what to do because they've been confused into believing that Israel is the home, is the nation state of the Jewish people because of the Holocaust, the Holocaust, I should say. They've been conflated, and that was deliberate. The Rothschilds did that on purpose. They knew if they were going to steal a country and create a safe place for the Jews, first of all, they have to get the Jews to feel unsafe, which if you ever look up the Havara Agreement, you'll see exactly how they did that. And the Zionists deal with Hitler and their plan to escort the Jews by force out of Germany into Palestine and to make them buy German goods to keep Hitler's economy afloat, which they had a worldwide embargo on. Don't get me started on World War II. We don't have time for a history lesson. But yeah, okay, tell me about Joey Ramone. Who's Joey Ramone? You don't know shit about my people. Oh, I'm sorry, James Slahal. Boarding house. Are you an Israeli bot? Does this cost? No, Joey Ramone was a Jew. Joey Ramone sounds Italian, man. I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't have time for your idiocy. So let me just put you in an 85,000 second timeout. God, I love that feature. Thank you, YouTube. YouTube does something right. Anyway, what else? All right, there's a few other things I want to go over before I leave you guys on a Friday night, okay? There's just a lot of good shit here, okay? The whole, obviously, if you don't know that the health debacle of 2020 was planned, then again, you should probably be forced to wear a headband when you leave the house. Even the head of Pfizer has come out and said, yeah, not in so many words, like quite literally he has spoken. The other thing I wanted to mention, it's that no one's talking about. I just saw a report on the Zoro Ranch, which was like an insane asylum place where they took these kids and they were breeding them. And look into the Zoro Ranch because that's not being given nearly enough attention. And still in existence as far as I know, all this shit. Then you have Elon Musk, who ironically tried like hell to get to a Jeffrey Epstein party, and it just didn't work out for him. Lucky for him. He's one of the few people, and not by his choice, but I saw that Zoro Ranch. Yeah, they hunted kids, which Kathy O'Brien also talks about. There's a lot of reports of that. That movie where they hunt people? That shit comes from people, right? Joey was just erased like my World War II ancestors. May we forever remember his ability to show us that just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you should share it. Well said, songs by Fuego. Well said. Zorro, yeah, like the guy with the sword. So it's called the Zoro Ranch. It was a sick and twisted place. Let me just tell you about it real quick, okay? The Zoro Ranch. It was a sex slavery hub. It was a baby making factory, okay? It was in New Mexico. It also, the entity, the Zoro Ranch entity, happened to win an $85 million lottery ticket, which is more evidence that, just like my friend Matt Kahn says in his videos, the fucking lottery is rigged. Not all the time, but when they want it to be, it's rigged. You think it's a coincidence that the Zoro Ranch, the baby-making factory, and the sex slave hub place happened to pick up the winning ticket? 85 million? How do you pay people for the depravity that you're doing on their property? Sometimes you cannot move that amount of money without drawing too much attention, especially in New Mexico. It's not exactly the most wealthiest and affluent state. What do? Fucking let them win the lottery. There you go. Perfect. Hello. Artwork, lottery. These are the easiest ways to launder money. Yep, my husband plays the lottery every week. I once heard about that. We stopped buying them. You know, I'm not saying it's all, oh, that's where that one girl shared her testimony of being in an incubator. Scary. Yeah, there's been more than one. So you know what else it says? It says in 2009, an email to FBI Director then Mueller described Epstein's Zoro Ranch, where child trafficking victims were sent before being transferred to the East Coast. Epstein was not arrested until 10 years later. So the head of the FBI had all this information. And this was the entity that won $85 million Powerball ticket in 2008. Go figure. Okay. 2019, an email surfaced reportedly from a former employee, and he claims that women were killed there by suffocation during sex, and they were buried near the ranch at the direction of Epstein and Maxwell. And he attached video footage of rapes of minors at the ranch. The FBI has had more than enough to go on. 0 arrests made. 0, all they have done. And let me tell you guys something, in case you don't understand the way this works. The FBI, the CIA, every single state agency, from the EPA to the FDA, every 3-letter acronym was formed for the sole protection of the oligarch fucking parasite class. Once you understand that, all of this makes more sense. The reason why the EPA is not interested in cleaning up your food is because the people who are running it are interested in eugenics and population control. The reason why the FDA doesn't give a fuck if the air is sprayed with aluminum and everyone is getting autism and Alzheimer's is because their concern is population control. And guess what they make money off of? Sick people, prescriptions. This is the world we actually live in. Everyone has been in big fucking denial about it, but it's all coming to the forefront now, and it's about fucking time. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry, what did it say here? Subscribe. Thank you, me. Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. How is this not bigger news? Wait, which one? Which part? Oh, about, yeah. So the email was forwarded to who? Eddie Aragon, a local Republican politician and radio host. The testimony from the victim is fucking, I don't even know if I should say it. Epstein Island received the most attention. Zoro Ranch appears to have been the epicenter of the trafficking and the eugenics lab for forced birth for black market use. In other words, that's where they were impregnating kids, having babies, never registering them and selling them off from the time they were babies for the highest bidder. This was a baby-making factory in New Mexico. That's what these people do. It is disgusting. A victim's diary entries document her being raped, forced to give birth, to create a superior gene pool. Her babies were stolen by Ghislaine Maxwell, and her pregnancy was overseen by whom? Israeli doctors. I mean, hello? Are we fucking waking up yet? Are we learning yet? What is it gonna take? How many slaps in the face do we need to realize who is actually running this country and who's got us by the short and curlies? Not us, not the people, although they're working on it. That's the surveillance grid, the police state, the ICE raids. Listen, the more they lose control of the narrative, and they have lost it, the more violence you're going to see on the street. So what we need to do is get organized, stop believing a fucking word that they say, and figure out a way to gain our independence back, decouple from every system that has central authority that we can, become completely independent. Don't give them a fucking dollar more than you have to. You know, like, I'll have a whole nother podcast on that. But yeah, this is what I think. That's what we need to do. The whole world right there. That's it. All right. I'm taking questions. I could talk about this shit forever, but I don't want to go out on a negative note. You know, I really don't. I want you guys to remember that this is a chaotic time, but chaos precedes coherence. when this solar system first formed, it was a mess. And the planets had to form and they had to find their rotation. I know you flat earthers don't believe any of that, but I'm sorry to offend you. Be careful of these doctors. If you don't pay attention and blink too slow, you'll be circumcised and you'll know it. Not only that, but then they end up eating there's some disgusting things. Why don't y'all read the Talmud? If you want to know what they're about and what they think of you, not all of them. I'm not talking about the Jews. I'm talking about the Zionists, the people who prescribe to the Talmudic part of the text. There's the Torah, and it's dictated by the Talmud. The Talmud is one of the most disgusting pieces of text I've ever read. It talks about how you treat Goyim, it's totally okay. It's not offensive to God to kill Goyim. 3-year-old girl, whatever you want to use her for, as long as she's not a Jew. You can steal from Goyim. It's not offensive to their God, because Goyim are here to serve God's chosen people, the Jew. This is called racism. This is called Jewish supremacy, and we need to start calling it for what it is. It is a problem, and that is my fucking mic drop. It's like the more you know, the more you don't know. How do you believe they've gotten that much power around the world? Through the debt enslavement system, it's taken them decades. But when you have unlimited resources, you can move mountains. They used 2 world wars to put themselves in a position they have. Every time there's a war, everybody needs loans. Then they put whole nations in massive debt. It started with the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln did not want to go to civil war. He didn't have the money for it. They pushed him to it. They used him. And when he said, fuck that, I'm not going to be in debt, he started printing greenbacks. Remember what happened to him? Knocked off. Who else tried to free us from the fucking debt enslavement system that these bankers have foisted on the world? Who else? Oh, that's right, JFK. He did. He started printing money backed by silver. Would have made the Fed, because in case you don't know, the Federal Reserve is not federal any more than Federal Express is. It is a fucking banking cartel that is criminal in nature, and it is designed to do one thing: enslave nations around the world. That is a fact. And it is working incredibly. So when people are looking like, wow, the financial system's really fucked up, we're such debt. No, it's working just the way they want it. It is a Ponzi scheme of epic proportion, okay? And it's gotten to the point now where the only way to keep the Ponzi scheme going is war, pandemics, emergency crisis. If you're playing Monopoly, how do you lose? You go bankrupt. That's how you're out of the game. But what if you couldn't go bankrupt? What if you could just print money out of thin air? What would happen to the value of Boardwalk on Monopoly if you could pull money out of the bank whenever you wanted? What would happen to the value of the money being used to buy the Boardwalk? Well, guess what? Prices would go up and up and up. And the value would devalue and devalue and devalue. That is common sense. A 6-year-old could tell you that after one game of Monopoly. But the whole world has been hypnotized into this absurd notion of, corporate unconscious capitalism. And I'm not saying there's a better solution, but we need to have accountability and transparency. We need to fucking decouple ourselves from this corrupt entity that is our government in every way. And y'all, if we're going to continue on, then you need to start looking at local politicians, people who are honest. You need to start raising your kids to be the next JFK. If we're going to continue in a system where we put our power into individuals, then just like the parasite class raises their youth to believe themselves to be better than everyone else, willing to kill, willing to treat us like cattle, willing to do whatever they need to do, we need to raise our kids to be impervious to corruption, to put the people first. We need to have an army of people to infiltrate politics and take the government back. That is the only way it's going to be nonviolent. Any other way, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine it playing out, but asset-backed money means no inflation. That's right. And the United States government has every ability to print its own money. Why don't we? Doesn't anyone stop and ask that question? We have the ability to print our own money and loan it to ourselves with no interest whatsoever. And we don't. We have a international fucking cartel which calls itself the Federal Reserve in our country that prints money out of thin air and loans it to us and then takes our property, takes our hard-earned tax money, takes our sweat equity and does what with it? Sends it to Israel so they could kill kids and women. Welcome to the United States of fucking shit. And I love this country, but my God, man, something has to change. And hopefully this latest debacle acts as a wake-up call. But that's what I got for you guys. If you guys have any questions, I could try to answer. I'm happy. Thank you for subscribing me. If you guys are listening and you're not subscribed, if you enjoyed my rant, what else could you call it? Please subscribe. I typically have a podcast that comes out, but once in a while I do these live streams and they're a lot of fun. But yeah, so if there's no questions, I'm going to let you guys enjoy your Friday nights. Thank you, me. And I live in Sweden. Should I start speaking about all this? That's a good question. So it's up to you, brother. I mean, like, Sweden has its own problems. Like there is no government that is exempt from this kind of infiltration. Sweden is certainly no exception. Any government under a central banking system is part of this and is controlled. And that's why Iran is enemy number one. Iran doesn't have a central banking system. Do you understand? That they're a problem. They've existed this whole time without living in trillions of dollars of debt to banking families like the Rothschilds and the Warburgs, whatever, that they are an example that it's possible, and they can't have that. And that's why they want to destroy Iran. They want to set up central banks there. It cannot be allowed to exist. Every day it goes on without a central bank is another day of testimony that we don't need to have a debt enslavement system in order to function as a society. We could erase the debt. Maybe do a potential scenario show, like first free energy, or I like that, Flix, with a rundown on some of the other guests. I like that, that'd be awesome. Good idea, Flix. Maybe add a channel or two. I dig that. I dig you guys. I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope I shared some information maybe you haven't heard from the 10,000 other influencers telling you that they got the inside scoop. I'm sure some of the stuff you heard before, but I wanted to share my opinion and thoughts on some of the stuff that is just ridiculously not true, obviously, and then some of the stuff that I think is going under the radar. But I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to you guys. I appreciate you guys. If you guys want to support my work, follow me on Instagram. I'm at the one Faust Chicho. Your heart speaks volumes. So much appreciated. Thank you, Flix. That means so much to me. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Om. Thank you for tuning in from Sweden. Make sure you subscribe. And if you want, share this replay. You can share it on your social media. You can share it everywhere for people who are interested. It's got a great thumbnail that kind of says it all. And there's some important information about it. But I'm on Instagram at theonefaustchicho.com, the one. And then my last name is spelled C-H-E-C-H-O. And also there's a Far Out with Faust IG account. I'm also on Patreon. If you guys want to support my work, please check it out. We have an awesome community we're building. And we have some really cool tiers. We're customizing merch. If you're on Facebook, we're trying to build some reviews. And if you're willing, if you just heard this and you happen to follow us on Facebook, if you write a review for us, if you enjoyed the podcast, sincerely, and you write us a review, send us a DM. We want to send you some customizable merch. We've got some really cool stuff that we do with my logo. So that being said, have a wonderful weekend. Much love to you guys. Stay safe. Spend it with your family. Enjoy your loved ones. Remember what's important. Unplug from this bullshit and have a great weekend. God willing, the weather's great. Much love. Flix, yeah, check it out.